What happens if you know the future but you're an obese magician? Find out in today's recap. In a land called Nas, there was a fierce battle raging. It was the year 1424, and the Great War was at its peak. Creatures of all kinds clashed swords with their enemies, but many lives were lost in the chaos. Flames danced and blood stained the ground as the ominous Demon King's army pressed forward, leaving devastation in their wake. Those who resisted knew their end was near, uttering their final goodbyes with heavy hearts. In the midst of this despair, whispers of hope began to circulate. Tales of a mysterious warrior emerging from the shadows began to spread like wildfire, a glimmer of light in the darkness. This very warrior marked the end of the opening theme of a remarkable role-playing game called Paradiso. The story then shifted to a young and dedicated player, our protagonist. Hours upon hours were spent immersed in the world of Paradiso, where they carefully crafted a charming character that evolved into a seasoned veteran over time. With unyielding affection for the game, they reigned supreme as the #1 power blogger on the game's information site for a decade. However, their fervour for the game led them down a perilous path. Overworked and consumed by their passion, their health deteriorated, ultimately leading to a tragic end. One day the protagonist awoke in a frenzy, beads of sweat trickling down their forehead. The room they found themselves in was grand, a vast royal bedroom adorned with exquisite paintings and grand windows that bathed the room in sunlight. Confusion gripped them, and a kindly maid stood nearby, inquiring about their nightmare. As the fog of confusion lifted, the protagonist realized the bewildering truth. They had been reincarnated into the world of Paradiso as an obese character named Jared. His journey started anew, with him standing in front of a mirror, grappling with the shock of his transformation. Puzzled by his newfound form, Jared questioned how he had remained overweight for a decade in the game without his appearance ever changing. Upon gaining composure, Jared's memories returned, and he pieced together the puzzle. He was once a gamer who had met his end from exhaustion. Now, he had been reborn as a young nobleman named Jared. Glancing at the game's familiar user interface, he realized that the Nas calendar was his reality's reckoning. Dread settled in as Jared came to understand the grim fate that awaited this world. In a mere decade, the Great Stallion War would engulf Nas, with the Demon King's forces wreaking havoc. Jared, plagued by obesity, felt powerless to escape, but the impending war wasn't the only catastrophe on the horizon. A cascade of droughts, famine, and natural disasters loomed, driving people to their breaking points. As desperation took hold, conflicts arose, escalating into a frenzy of battles between nations, the Great Nas War. Amidst the chaos, Jared's plight became clear. A rotund nobleman would be easy prey. Frustration welled up within him, and he cursed his fate. Even the Paradiso Encyclopedia, where he once held the esteemed position of the #1 blogger, had overlooked him. Jared's bitterness swelled, and he pondered the unfairness of his predicament. Why couldn't he have been given a dashing, handsome character instead? In a fit of anger, he lashed out, and the chair he sat upon buckled beneath his weight, sending him tumbling to the floor. Jared had vivid memories of his younger self, a slim, smart boy with big blue eyes and golden hair neatly tied up. Looking back at those times, he couldn't help but think that such a guy should have grown up to become a truly handsome man. Lying on the floor, feeling a bit down, Jared realized that moping around wouldn't help him achieve his goals. With determination, he picked himself up, setting a clear goal in his mind, to shed some weight and use the bugs in the game to his advantage. Jared's mind was racing. He wondered why he couldn't be just as smart now as he was back then. He struggled to get back on his feet, but his intention was clear in his determined eyes and expressions. Drawing upon his deep knowledge of the game, Jared was determined to turn any situation to his favour. He wasn't willing to accept the bleak future that lay ahead. Instead, he was resolute in carving out a brighter path for himself. As Jared's thoughts raced, a maid named Hayes was busy tidying up the library. She pondered how it had been so long since Master Jared had visited. Suddenly Jared burst into the room, a whirlwind of energy, and started searching through the books and shelves. Curious, Hayes asked what he was looking for. With a determined tone, Jared explained that he was seeking the keepsakes left behind by his father. Hayes soon discovered a gleaming golden necklace with a reddish stone nestled within it. She handed it to Jared, and his face lit up with a mixture of joy and gratitude. As Hayes witnessed his happiness, she felt proud to have been of assistance. Jared's knowledge of the game was extensive, and he recognized the keepsake's significance, an artifact that enhanced magical abilities. Jared's plan was to break the stone, despite its sentimental value, in order to harness its power. With a decisive motion, Jared shattered the stone. In an instant the room grew dark, and black smoke swirled and twisted, forming into a tornado before taking the shape of a figure. Before Jared stood the being he had summoned, the sinister spirit of Isabella. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What kind of magic is the best? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. CH2. Isabella's presence was formidable. With her towering stature, long golden hair, eerie red eyes, and triangular teeth, she was a sight that could easily strike fear into anyone's heart. Yet Jared knew that Isabella despised cowards and favoured those who remained composed and resourceful. Determined to win her favour, Jared wasted no time and boldly declared his desire for the Mind Eye. Isabella's laughter echoed through the room. She teased Jared for his greed, explaining that the Mind Eye was a skill possessed by only one user in the entire realm of Paradiso. It allowed the user to perceive the stats and traits of individuals, with the user's level influencing the depth of information they could gather. Jared envisioned using this skill to manage his territory and guide the rising stars within it. But Isabella's offer came with a catch. She proposed a contract that would grant Jared the coveted Mind Eye, but he would have to relinquish whatever he held most dear, whether it was money, honor, family, or something else. Fearing the prospect of losing what he cherished most, Jared steeled himself and devised a clever plan. With a mischievous grin, Jared concocted a fictitious object that he claimed was his most treasured possession. Isabella, able to read his thoughts, accepted his declaration. Unbeknownst to her, Jared's supposed treasure was a 34-year-old man's first kiss. Isabella, taken aback by the unexpected response, found herself trapped in Jared's clever ruse. The scene shifted, and Hayes, clutching a stack of books, hurried towards Jared's room. Along the way, she passed by fellow maids discussing the odd sight of a seemingly lazy and overweight man bursting out of his room. The books Hayes carried contained information about the surrounding territories, a request Jared had made. Jared's focus turned to Hayes, and he employed his Mind Eye to examine her stats. He discovered that Hayes was already at level 8, with an impressive S-class devotion and an unrequited love trait, among other special tendencies. Recognizing her potential, Jared decided to harness her abilities, planning to elevate her from a mere maid to a skilled healer. After handing over the papers, Hayes said sorry for her mistakes that kept happening. Jared saw her worried face and remembered how a long time ago a not-so-nice man would scold her for tiny errors. He felt bad for Hayes and walked up to her, giving her a big hug and saying how sorry he was for his past actions. He promised to change and be a better person. Tears of happiness rolled down Hayes' cheeks, and their heartwarming moment ended. During dinner, our main character, Jared, avoided fatty foods and stuck to eating veggies and herbs. He was really determined to lose weight and be healthier. Even though the veggies seemed plain to others, Jared ate them like they were a delicious treat. Something magical happened. His metabolism sped up, and calories started to burn. Just when Jared thought he might feel sick from the weird taste, Hayes surprised him with a yummy steak. Jared lives in a place called the Creever Territory. It's really cold there, and there are lots of bandits and monsters. Jared's working hard to improve himself and become stronger, but the Creever quests are too tough for him right now. He's focusing on becoming better first. CH3. Now let's jump back in time about 10 years. There was a sad moment when someone tried to comfort Jared after his dad passed away. Fast forward to the present, and Jared's a leader in his own territory, Krivia. He called a meeting with his officials to talk about important stuff. One guy, Chief City Guard Sir Gregus, was acting silly and trying to flirt with Hayes. Another noble named Sir Lachis got mad and started arguing with Gregus, but an old man stepped in and calmed everyone down, asking them to join the meeting. The meeting surprised everyone, especially because Jared was acting like a real king. He even scolded Gregus for being drunk and messing up. Jared used magic to warn Gregus to shape up, and it was a big change from how he used to be. He said people who were being dishonest would get in trouble, and even the other nobles got scared and apologized. Jared finished the meeting strong, and people started to respect him more again. A month passed, and in an empty house in Krivia, some bad guys were collecting taxes without permission. They were Gragus's men, even though Gragus himself hadn't shown up. But suddenly Jared appeared, and decided to stop the unfair taxes. CH4A fight broke out, and Sir Lachis beat up the bad guys. Jared blocked the leader's escape and used powerful magic to stop him. People were so happy to see action being taken. The poor were given free food, and the criminals were arrested. People sang songs to thank Jared for making things right. He was happy with Sir Lachis' help, and he used his special ability to help Lachis do his job even better. There was another issue with low crops. Jared's mind was racing with ideas to solve the problem of local production and save resources for his people. Iraqis had noticed him deep in thought, his hands resting on his belly. A curious occurrence took place, a bug in the game, this bug-lowing him to absorb his own mana and boost his power. Just then, a knight hurried into the room, reporting about the discovery of a bandit camp in the coal mines. The bandits had taken slaves, sparking memories of a year ago. In a distant memory, two fierce fighters clashed swords while a 14-year-old girl named Lena watched with wide eyes. Lena's dreams were bigger than being a mere maid in Jared's mansion. She yearned to become a skilled warrior, like those she admired. Her siblings, however, found her ambition amusing. Gender didn't matter, they explained, but rather willpower, talent, and hard work. The flashback shifted to a dark and dire scene. The young girl named Lena sat chained, with scars covering her body and a haunted expression in her eyes. Lena, enslaved and imprisoned, called out for her siblings. CH5. She remembered the kind director of her orphanage, but her captors claimed he had sold her. Determined to escape, Lena formed a friendship with another slave named Mani. They shared their stories, their fears, and their hopes for a better life. Time passed, and Lena and Mani became closer than ever. They endured harsh labour, sharing their knowledge of the world and their dreams of a brighter future. But the situation grew bleaker with an incompetent leader in charge. Lena's stubbornness kept her going, despite the odds stacked against her. As the months went by, Lena and Mani approached the age of 15, the peak selling age for slaves. Glogis, the leader, had been removed from power, bringing a glimmer of hope. One day Mani fell ill, and Lena pleaded with a bandit for help. Despite his cruelty, he provided a bowl of soup. In a desperate bid for freedom, Mani sacrificed himself to save Lena from the bandits' advances. Back in the present, Jared received news of the bandits and their captive slaves. He swiftly organized a force of knights to confront the slavers. Guided by his strategic knowledge, Jared located their hideout and launched an assault to free the slaves and defeat the oppressors. The bandit hideout became a prison, and their fate was sealed. Amid the chaos, Jared spotted Lena, pinned to the ground by a bandit. Using his fire magic, he saved her just in time. CH5. Regret tinged Jared's relief. He wished he had arrived sooner to save Mani. As Jared consoled Lena, the leader of the bandits, Ched confronted them. Ched insulted Jared, who responded by casting a powerful haste spell. With newfound speed, Jared circled Ched, leaving him no escape. In the heart of the action, amidst swirling spells and sudden punches, Ched found himself surrounded by danger from all directions. It was a chaotic moment, and in the blink of an eye, his life was extinguished. But this wasn't the end of the tale. It was only the beginning of an exciting journey. Jared, a brave and skilled lord, emerged from the fray victorious. His daring exploits earned him more loyalty points, a currency that held great importance in the land of Krivia. With his determination, he had finally amassed 100 of these points, marking the entry into a new era, the Golden Age. In this flourishing era, justice was swift and unyielding. All the wicked kidnappers and murderers met their well-deserved fate, facing justice within the very bounds of slavery they had imposed upon others. The world was changing, and families torn apart by cruelty were at last reunited. Yet, not every slave returned to their previous life. One person stood out: Lena. Lena, a spirited and talented young woman, held a special place in Jared's heart. He granted her the freedom to stay in Krivia, where her unique skills could be honed for the future. The director of an orphanage, who recognized Lena's potential, trusted Jared's vision. With an opportunity to pursue her dreams, Lena's heart brimmed with joy, and she vowed to exceed all expectations. However, Lena's luck wasn't just about finding Jared. It was Jared who had stumbled upon something extraordinary. Lena was an important figure, a vanguard for the powerful Demon King and a skilled warrior. Many had challenged her, yet she effortlessly defeated them all. The fortress she guarded was impenetrable, and her resolve unbreakable. Jared knew he had found a treasure, a guardian against the forces of darkness, but challenges kept coming. The territory of Mallorca lay ahead, a hotbed of illegal activities that threatened to cast a shadow over Krivia's newfound prosperity. Jared needed a plan to address this threat, to secure his realm against the impending darkness. CH7. In the shadows, a mysterious hooded figure schemed. Intent on revenge, this enigmatic individual plotted and planned, ready to strike against Krivia and its defender. Amidst the intrigue, a new day dawned. At the breakfast table, Jared and Lena found themselves at opposite ends of the energy spectrum. Jared was weary from his running, while Lena radiated vitality, even in the final lap. As they sat down, letters arrived, bearing news that would shape their course. One letter from Oberyn spoke of a new crop named Letria, thriving under successive cultivation. The other, from a fellow adventurer named Avila, detailed a venture that attracted monster hunters to Krivia. These hunters were selling mana stones harvested from defeated monsters, cutting costs and doubling profits. The wheels of fortune continued to turn. Jared's attention shifted as reports of monsters littering the streets reached his ears. An outsider was at play, orchestrating this chaos. The pieces of the puzzle began to come together, yet the full picture remained elusive. In the midst of uncertainty, a young child's voice resonated. She pleaded with a merchant for help, her mother afflicted by a dire illness. Ronella's disease, a grave ailment, struck hopelessly. There were whispers of cures, but none certain. This illness, a distant relative of real-life's tuberculosis, held its origins in Ronella territory. Jared's heart led him to the child's humble home, where he met Mary, ailing and frail. Her days were numbered, the sands of time slipping away. She recognized Jared from a bygone time, when she served as a chef in his mansion. Memories resurfaced, and a connection was rekindled. Amidst the chaos of monsters and mysteries, Lena and Hayes arrived with the requested herbs. Mary's trust was earned, and a plan took shape, but danger lurked in the shadows. The enigmatic figure returned, watching from above. Yet Jared was prepared, and his captain stood behind this hooded figure, CH8. Jared was engrossed in his work, concocting a revolutionary new medicine to combat a disease that wouldn't affect Paradiso for another decade. Despite the distant timeline, Jared's unique foresight spurred him to start crafting the cure immediately. When asked why he was going to such lengths for a regular person, he revealed the deep pain of losing his own mother to cancer. This tragic loss fueled his determination to help others avoid the same fate. Although the mother he mourned wasn't his own, but rather his mother from the real world, the memory of helplessness and frustration still burned vividly, even after 15 years. Meanwhile, on a rooftop elsewhere, an intense duel raged between a mysterious man and Jared's chief guard. Swords clashed, the air thick with tension. The enigmatic spy displayed impressive agility, deftly evading each powerful blow. Seizing an opening, he unleashed a knockout ninja kick, but to his astonishment, Chief Guard Lakis absorbed the blow and stood strong, his dedication to justice fueling his strength. Realizing he couldn't best Lakis, the spy chose to retreat, vanishing in a puff of smoke. In another scene, cloaked and sporting a fake moustache, Jared assumed the role of a teacher, guiding Mia through two distinct methods of mana manipulation. They explored the associative method for mana lumping, as well as the more complex condensation method, reserved for dire situations. Their lesson was interrupted by a knock at the door. Breakfast was ready, prepared by the newly hired Chef Mary. CH9, skipping to a different setting, a room brimming with energy showcased a man emanating powerful mana. This man, Jared, had transformed his approach to training, fusing bug training and traditional magician's methods to create his own innovative mana operational training method. It was a path uniquely his own, distinguishing him from his peers. Isabella, a constant companion by Jared's side, was captivated by his unconventional techniques. As she delved deeper, she stumbled upon a flaw. Jared's ability to manipulate raw mana was unlike anyone else in this world. Speculating he might be from another land, Isabella hinted at the possibility of his origins lying on a distant continent renowned for its mana manipulation skills. Relieved, Jared feigned agreement, effectively sidestepping the truth. Isabella's revelations intrigued her even more, leading her to propose further discussions between them. These interactions were exclusive to Jared, as he was the only one who could see her, a consequence of his unique perspective. Misunderstanding her intentions, Jared assumed Isabella wanted her mind back, prompting her to blush and confess that the mind eyes were now his to keep. Her words took an unexpected turn, as she humorously suggested considering the mind eyes a gift from his future wife. Flabbergasted, Jared struggled to process her proposal. Isabella playfully continued, mentioning his improved appearance after shedding weight and hinting that, as a virgin, she could potentially choose him as her partner. A shocking revelation followed. They had already shared their first kiss. Jared quickly realized the direction of the conversation, his eyes widening in surprise and concern. He sprang up from his seat and darted out of the room, his urgent words echoing in the air. "I must leave for the Ronella territory now." As they journeyed toward Ronella, Hayes unfolded a letter from Salakis that was addressed to Jared. The words on the parchment revealed great news about Lena's progress. Excitement danced across Hayes' face as she read how Lena's skills were flourishing under Salakis' guidance. In just a month it seemed Lena would have soaked up all the knowledge he had to offer. But as Hayes continued reading, a shadow seemed to pass over Jared's features. His brow furrowed, and he looked distant. The letter hinted at Sir Lacus's limited time, and Jared's mind started to churn with possibilities. With Lacus's expiration date looming, Jared's determination kicked into high gear. He started to mentally list potential new teachers for Lena, each name sparking a thought in his mind. Suddenly, as if from nowhere, an arrow shattered the tranquility inside the carriage. Glass tinkled to the ground, and Jared's reflexes kicked in. With a swift motion and a whispered incantation, he conjured a shimmering shield of magic, the arrow harmlessly bouncing off it. Before anyone could react, more arrows whizzed through the air, aimed directly at Jared and Hayes. Jared's eyes narrowed, a fierce resolve taking hold. He sensed danger, and the instincts of a skilled magician guided his actions. But in the midst of his defensive maneuvers, Hayes demonstrated her own bravery. She thrust herself in front of Jared, her body acting as an impromptu shield. His heart raced with a mix of concern and annoyance, and he scolded her for her audacious move. "Stay put in the carriage," Jared commanded Hayes firmly. With a determined expression, he pushed himself out of the carriage to confront the unseen assailants. Isabella, a friend who had been travelling with them, offered assistance, but Jared waved her off, his voice confident and unwavering as he assured her he could handle the situation. Outside, Jared focused his magical energy, creating a radiant shield screen that surrounded him. He advanced towards the source of the arrows, his movements a mix of grace and power. It wasn't long before he identified their attackers, a group of bandits led by a menacing figure known as Thorg. The name sent a chill down Jared's spine, and he couldn't help but wonder if this was the same masked man who had crossed paths with Sir Lacus. Thorg lunged at Jared with a rapid slash, his attack executed with calculated precision. Time seemed to slow as Jared reacted swiftly, invoking a spell that sent a spiraling magic missile towards his foe. Yet Thorg's mastery of magic proved formidable. He extinguished the missile with ease and delivered a punishing blow to Jared. Undeterred, Jared conjured a protective shield, absorbing the impact of the attack. With a wry grin, he complimented Thorg on his prowess, acknowledging that his reputation was indeed well-deserved. Thorg, taken aback by Jared's resilience, intensified his onslaught, each move aimed at wearing Jared down and preventing any chance of retaliation. But Jared was no novice. His magical expertise was evident. He skillfully managed his mana reserves, ensuring he had enough energy to defend and counter. As Thorg pressed his attack, a moment of opportunity presented itself. Swift as a gust of wind, Jared's hand shot forward, seizing a gleaming artifact from the air, a dual-faced axe. He turned the artifact in his hands, a glint of determination in his eyes. Thorg's disbelief was palpable as he realized the tables had turned. Jared's voice was calm but firm as he informed Thorg that he would be relieving him of the artifact. The bandit leader was left powerless, his eyes wide with shock and realization. But survival had a way of inspiring desperate bargains. Thorg pleaded for his life, promising vital information about his enigmatic employer, the masked man who had orchestrated this ambush. Jared's skepticism was evident. He couldn't simply trust the words of a criminal. With a swift swing of Hogg's axe, he struck a decisive blow, and the man's fate was sealed. Ch. 10. Meanwhile, within the confines of a carriage, a young merchant named Aki found himself trapped in a web of thoughts. He contemplated the old adage, "A merchant without money can't buy luck." The truth of those words weighed heavily on him as he braced himself for an ominous encounter. Peering through the bars of his makeshift prison, Aki's gaze fell upon a scene of intrigue. The masked man, a shadowy figure of intrigue, exchanged a bag filled with gleaming coins with Thorg. The exchange carried an air of secrecy and trepidation, leaving Aki's heart pounding. The masked man's words echoed in Aki's mind. His plan was clear, to leverage Jared's revolutionary medicine for his own gain. The very same medicine that had brought hope and healing to countless lives was now a pawn in a dangerous game. Aki's thoughts raced, and a determination ignited within him. He had heard whispers of the coveted Kriva magic stone, a treasure that had captured his imagination. But Aki's journey had been marred by danger. His path had intersected with that of Thorg, leading to a brutal ambush that stripped him of his dreams. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, Aki's heart swelled with a newfound resolve. He yearned to reclaim his stolen fortune, to seize the opportunity that had been snatched away. And in the midst of chaos and uncertainty, a single figure emerged as a beacon of hope, the warrior whose mere presence had ended Thorg's reign of terror. Jared's impact was undeniable, and Aki's gratitude overflowed. With a rush of emotion, Aki approached Jared, wrapping him in a heartfelt embrace, apologizing for the lack of security in the area. Aki's heart swelled with gratitude as he realized he had been saved from danger. As Aki recovered from the shock of the ambush, he learned that Jared was not just an ordinary person. He was the owner of a grand establishment from the faraway eastern continent, renowned for its prosperity and market-savvy ways. Jared's sharp eye for trends and ability to foresee the future had led him to unparalleled success, and even newcomers in the merchant world looked up to him for guidance. Curiosity piqued. Aki wondered why someone as significant as Jared would be found in the northern borderlands, far from his home in the eastern continent. This puzzling question led Aki to approach Jared with a proposal, seeking to strike a deal that would benefit them both. Aki's plan was simple but ingenious. He would become Jared's representative, selling his products in the Ranella territory, and in return, Aki would receive a commission of 15% of the profits. However, Aki, ever the clever negotiator, had another idea brewing in his mind. Instead of settling for a commission, he proposed that Jared grant him 2 wishes. One of those wishes, Aki shyly revealed, was to be called by his nickname, Aki. The Ranella territory, which initially appeared mundane, turned out to be bustling with potential. Together, Jared and Aki worked tirelessly to set up their business, particularly focusing on a cure for the Ranella disease that plagued the land. Jared's business acumen led them to a breakthrough, a medicine that showed promise in treating Ranella disease. However, a peculiar limitation arose. The medicine could only be collected in small quantities from a barrel every 24 hours. Undeterred, Aki took charge of selling the medicine, ensuring that each bottle found its way into the hands of those in need. With his charming sales skills, Aki met a man named Tallinn, who was suffering from Ranella disease. Through persuasive words and genuine compassion, Aki successfully sold the medicine to Tallinn, securing both the sale and a signed contract that transferred the medicine's ownership. As a gesture of goodwill, Jared promised Aki a substantial reward if the medicine didn't work as intended. Aki's day wasn't done yet. He embarked on an advertising campaign to spread the word about their miraculous product. The ownership transfer meant that the 24-hour limitation was passed on to the buyer, allowing Jared to produce more medicine. The concept of this production skill fascinated both Aki and Jared, setting the stage for further endeavours. When Aki finally returned, he brought a horde of eager customers with him. Ranella's people clamoured to purchase the medicine, grateful for its potential to alleviate their suffering. CH 11. Aki's clever advertising had worked wonders, and the day saw a remarkable achievement, sales amounting to 12,250 gold coins. As the day drew to a close, Jared found himself reflecting on the day's success from the comfort of his hotel balcony. Just then, Pak, the mysterious figure from before, appeared, seeking his compensation for the day's sales. With a knowing smile, Jared realized that Aki's second wish still lingered, a wish that held the potential to alter their fates even more. Aki's wish was no small matter. He desired to become Jared's vassal, running a trading company under Jared's expert guidance. Impressed by Aki's talents and unwavering dedication, Jared willingly granted his wish, bestowing upon him the deputy rank with the esteemed production bug. Aki's heart brimmed with happiness, and he revelled in the newfound opportunities that awaited him. In this moment of achievement, Jared's skills advanced to an astonishing level 35, affording him the ability to produce an impressive 24 bottles of the medicine daily. The potential revenue soared to a staggering 900 gold coins per day, an incredible feat made even more remarkable by the fact that this magical medicine was exclusively sold in the enchanting realm of the Kriva. In the Kriva territory where Jared lived, things were changing faster than he could have imagined. More hunters were coming to visit, which meant more mana stones were flowing in. This was great news because it meant fewer monster attacks on the citizens. The place was becoming better and better, and Jared was quite pleased. People were starting to talk about the Kriva far and wide. It was getting famous. Jared, all on his own, rode his horse through the land. He was heading to a secret and isolated place. Isabella, his friend, became worried. She tried to stop him, worried he might do something dangerous. She cared about him a lot. You see, Jared wasn't going on a sad journey, but he had plans to catch a mysterious creature called the Lich de Luck. This creature was super powerful and could do scary things like trapping souls and turning people into undead beings. But don't worry, Jared knew how to handle it. The Lich de Luck was trapped in a fortress called Silver Mountain. A long time ago, a demon king set it free, and the Lich got eternal life. But this meant trouble for everyone else. In the big story of Paradiso, the Lich had to be dealt with to move forward. Jared had the plan to do it now, while the Lich wasn't too strong. Isabella was curious and suspicious. She asked if Jared was secretly a god because he seemed to know so much. Jared reached Silver Mountain and started searching for the Lich. He had to find a hidden passage and climb up high inside the mountain. The way was dangerous, filled with traps. Frozen bodies were evidence of that. Jared, being smart, found a secret shortcut that led right to the Lich. The Lich lived in a treasure room, and Jared was on a mission to find a special ring. This ring had an enchanting name, Mistress of Greedmelt, and it had magical powers. It could store a lot of stuff. Isabella got a little scared. She realized that the Lich was no joke, but Jared explained that they weren't stealing. They were taking back what the Lich had taken from humans. Jared geared up with powerful artifacts, and it was time for the big showdown. The Lich de Luck looked like an old man with a long beard, all chained up. He was supposed to reflect on his bad deeds, but he wanted to be free to turn everyone into undead. Jared surprised the Lich with a fiery attack, and things got intense. The Lich was baffled. How did Jared get past all those tricky illusions and traps? Turns out the Lich used to be a wizard who traded his humanity for power. CH 12. The Lich had no real body, just a magical avatar, but Jared had fought him before and knew how to keep his distance. Jared's attacks were strong, especially with a special artifact that boosted his power. The Lich realized he had to act fast. He tried to cast a spell, but Jared was ready. He attacked first. The Lich changed tactics and summoned his undead knights to fight for him. Jared and Isabella were scared, but they didn't back down. Jared rushed toward the Lich, engaging in close combat to prevent him from casting strong spells. Quick on her feet, Isabella took over the body of one of the undead, joining forces with Jared. He summoned a connected lightning attack, dazzling the Lich, and cast not one but 2 spells simultaneously. This surprising strategy caught the Lich off guard, and Jared's clever tactics led to its defeat, just like when he was victorious in their favourite game. But the battle was far from over. As Jared approached the fallen Lich, it tried to muster its last ounce of power for a final strike. Swiftly dodging the feeble attack, Jared struck back with a decisive blow, ending the Lich's existence with a taste of true defeat. However, instead of meeting its end, the Lich transformed into a raging force of anger. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.
Last time on, Jared was bravely fighting against the demonic Lich with the help of Isabella. Find out what happens next in today's recap. Unleashing a surge of unexpected power, the Lich's onslaught sent Jared stumbling backward. The ensuing clash was fierce, with the Lich hurling a barrage of attacks that left Jared little room to counter. Even his spellcasting attempts were swatted away by the Lich's might. The Lich's magic grew so potent that it shattered Jared's protective shield. As danger loomed and a deadly strike neared, Isabella intervened, rescuing Jared from near certain doom. With the undead body gone, it was now a direct showdown between Jared and the Lich. This twist of fate surprised Jared, yet he remained confident. He realized the Lich, like other creatures in Paradiso, followed a pattern of attack and defense. Resolute and unyielding, Jared inched closer to the Lich. He was ready to unleash his ultimate move. Surprise hidden up his sleeve. His luck continued to underestimate him, thinking him just a third-class magician. Jared revealed his true power, delivering a 4th-class attack of immense magnitude. His strategic mastery diminished the Lich's power to mere nothingness. Still, the Lich refused to accept defeat, fighting on with unrelenting determination. Despite his tenacity, there was no escaping the fate Jared had set for him. The Lich's demise was certain, a 4th-class magician triumphing over a 9th-class opponent. With the Lich's passing, it left behind a mysterious bracelet, the very artifact Jared had sought. Curiosity piqued, Isabella turned to Jared, questioning the possibility of a resurrected being forming an unbreakable bond with its master. Could it be that the revived entity would forever obey, even in death? Jared confirmed both questions with a resolute yes, although Isabella's reaction was mixed. She wasn't pleased with the idea of becoming a subservient slave, craving a more equal partnership. Jared, however, had different intentions. He aimed to elevate their magical resilience and tolerance, seeking Isabella's cooperation. To achieve this, he suggested using cursed magic on her, a process that involved multiple rounds of magical infusion. Isabella nodded eagerly, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. As she transformed into a human form, she took on the appearance of a beautiful girl with flowing golden hair and mysterious red eyes. The 2 companions, Isabella and Jared, found themselves navigating their way through the winding mountain paths, discovering the eerie remnants of past travelers along the way. Thankfully, many of the dangerous traps had been deactivated, but they couldn't help but wonder about the fate of the girl whose body Isabella now inhabited. Isabella wished silently that the girl's spirit hadn't turned into an evil presence, feeling a twinge of loneliness herself. Determined not to let that darkness consume her, she made up her mind to fully embrace this new human life. She dreamed of indulging in delicious foods, trying on different dresses, and experimenting with makeup to experience the joys of being alive. Jared couldn't help but smile at Isabella's spirited determination. He was grateful to have such a lively and dependable partner by his side, someone who had come to mean so much more than just an ally. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. Do you like magic manhwa? If so, why? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now, back to the recap. Meanwhile, far away in the realm of Ranella, a pressing concern weighed heavily on the mind of the kingdom's ruler. The king fretted about the exodus of monster hunters from his region, drawn to the distant shores of Krivia in search of a rumored cure. Some stayed behind in Krivia to hunt, leaving the Ronellan king with a dwindling force of skilled protectors. Frustrated and anxious to reclaim control, the king hatched a daring plan to acquire the cure for himself, willing to do whatever it took. But obtaining the cure proved to be a formidable challenge. Despite all efforts, the king's attempts to steal the elusive recipe had been in vain. He seethed with determination, defiantly declaring that if this was the game Jared wished to play, then he was ready to face the challenge head-on. In the distant land of Majorca, another monarch was plotting a different course of action. The king of Majorca, with a small army at his disposal, contemplated waging war against Krivia. However, the odds were stacked against him, and he realized that his forces were inadequate for such a massive undertaking. The king of Majorca hired a bunch of magicians, and they began preparing to destroy Jared's nation. Jared embarked on a journey to a disputed territory between Majorca and Ranella, a place where the tribe of red goblins resided. Arriving in the Goblin lands, Jared and his men were met with a curious reception. The goblins, led by their leader Ivanaba, surrounded them. Jared explained his intentions, seeking to establish diplomatic ties for the acquisition of valuable resources. The goblins were intrigued, and a surprising friendship began to form. The deal was sealed, laying the foundation for a prosperous relationship. As the weeks passed, Isabella, now going by the name Isabel, settled into her new existence. She effortlessly adapted to life alongside Jared, utilizing her illusion magic to aid in his training. Together, they honed their skills and strengthened their bond. Isabella's influence extended beyond their training sessions, as she played a crucial role in Jared's efforts to recruit and train new talents for the upcoming challenges. Jared's focus shifted towards the Nurture Project, a mission to identify and nurture promising individuals who would shape the future events. Isabella and his other students, Lena and Mia, provided valuable support, earning him bonus points in his teaching endeavors. However, one student remained a challenge. Hayes, a healer with an intense dedication to her craft. Teaching Hayes to become a healer had proven to be quite a challenge for Jared. You see, the main hurdle was that Hayes couldn't quite see herself as anything other than a maid. For the past 23 years, she'd been walking the path of a maid, and changing that was tough. Instead of forcing her, Jared decided to have faith in Hayes and let her figure it out on her own. Jared left his room one day with a fresh idea to help Hayes. But on his way through his grand mansion, a sneaky assassin sprang out from the shadows and struck him down. Hayes and a guard rushed to the scene, but the assassin had vanished by the time help arrived. Even the doctors were too late. It was a dire situation, but Hayes stepped up, her eyes filled with tears and memories flooding her mind. With determination, she embraced her role as a healer and managed to mend Jared's wounds. It was a triumphant moment. Hayes had finally become a healer. Later, Jared confessed that there had been no assassin. It was all a tactic to encourage Hayes. She scolded all three, Jared, the guard, and the fake assassin, before rushing out of the room, tears streaming down her face. The Nurture Project was progressing well, despite the snowstorm raging in the Nightmare Forest. Meanwhile, deep in the heart of the forest, Sir Lacus stumbled upon a man holding a lamp. This man held the answers Lacus was seeking. He guided Lacus to his cozy cottage and brewed some tea. It turned out they were old acquaintances with a shared history. Lacus handed over the medicine for Ranella's disease, foreseeing a time when someone deep in the Nightmare Forest might need it. The old man found it hard to believe that such an inept leader like Jared could bring about a cure. Lacus tried to convince him that Jared had changed and learned from his past mistakes. However, the stubborn old man remained unconvinced, reluctant to return. Switching scenes, Jared was in a lodge enjoying seafood with Hayes and Isabel. They praised the freshness of the food, but Isabel uncovered a problem. The cold weather had hampered their crop yields, and seafood was their only option. Jared had a solution, though. He had created fertilizers that might kickstart the growth soon. The place was bustling with satisfied customers, praising Krivia's newfound prosperity. Among the crowd, a red-headed lady with sunglasses caught Jared's eye. It was Ella, a renowned NPC warrior known for aiding players during a crisis. Ella was accompanied by Queen Chloe, the ruler of the Grey Elves. Seizing the opportunity, Jared cleverly approached them, proposing an enticing deal. He offered them 5,000 gold as a down payment, along with residence in his mansion, in exchange for teaching a child. Jared insisted on a written agreement to ensure the deal's validity. Ella, skeptical of Jared's trust, questioned his motives, but Jared was clear. He didn't trust them yet. Money was his way of persuading them to stay. The dilemma of finding a new teacher for Lena was resolved, but a new concern arose. Jared realized he was forgetting Chloe's appearance, a sign of fading memories. To counter this, he planned to write a journal in Korean, a language unknown in Paradiso, to preserve his knowledge. With determination, Jared continued his plan to tackle the crises at hand. However, the time for war with the Majorca territory had arrived, and Jared found himself in the dark about his neighbor's intentions. Our adventure continues right at the mansion, where Lena and Chloe are deeply engrossed in their rigorous training routine. Jared, curious and a bit puzzled, watches as Lena pushes herself to the limit. He wonders if she'll end up with bulging muscles from all her hard work. Chloe the elf, on the other hand, seems as composed as ever, not a single droplet of sweat on her brow. Ella, always full of wisdom, leans over to Jared and shares a glimpse of the bigger picture. She explains that this world is vast, with countless challenges waiting to be conquered. Lena's training might not be the most well-rounded, and Ella jokes that whoever trained her must not have been the best teacher. In a playful tone, she adds that Lena could probably defeat that person in mere seconds. Poor Jared can't help but chuckle at the thought, imagining Lena taking down her own teacher. Switching scenes, we find Lena experimenting with magical equipment designed to enhance her training. It's a peculiar sight, but it seems to be working wonders for her progress. Ella, now curious about Lena's unique training methods, asks about its origins. Jared explains that it's a technique hailing from the eastern continent, though in reality, we know he's just exploiting a bug within the Paradiso system. This training method cleverly uses the 4 elements to create simulations of real combat scenarios. Meanwhile, a group of farmers joyfully welcomes Sir Oberyn, who has arrived to inspect the crops. They excitedly share how pests have been eradicated thanks to Jared's efforts, showering him with praise and gratitude for making their lives better. The system notifies Jared of his growing influence, indicating a substantial boost in loyalty and production abilities, marking the dawn of a golden age under his leadership. But the plot thickens as a mysterious stranger named Akron arrives at Jared's mansion. This enigmatic figure has a message for Jared, delivered through the activated system. The new quest bestowed upon Jared, titled Diamond Cuts Diamond, promises wisdom points in exchange for eliminating a 4th-class mage. Jared, feeling uneasy about harming another, decides to approach Akron with caution. He extends a courteous greeting, leading to a tense exchange of words. Akron hands over the message, and as Jared reads the letter, his annoyance becomes palpable. The Lord of Majorca, Horgus, mocks Jared, suggesting that they maintain their relations and friendship. Frustration builds within Jared as he questions whether Horgus takes him for a naive pushover. In an effort to play his role, Jared agrees to send a tribute as a gesture of goodwill, which pleases Akron, who underestimates Jared's cunning. As the story unfolds, we see that Jared is well prepared for the political games at play. He hosts guests from Majorca, all the while aware of a spy among them, sent by the Lord of Majorca to mock and belittle him. Jared's foresight doesn't disappoint, as he had anticipated the presence of spies. He's bracing himself for an impending storm, knowing that the other lords are plotting against him. A month passes, and the tension escalates. On the early morning of April 29th, 1414, according to the calendar, Majorcan soldiers invade the land of Krivia, setting the stage for a dramatic clash. The soldiers declare their intent to seize the territory. The Lord of Majorca has revealed his ambitious plans, claiming that the land of Krivia will soon be his. The scene unfolds at a grand mansion, where an air of quietness surrounds the atmosphere. Inquisitive Lena turns to her companion, Chloe, and wonders aloud about the whereabouts of everyone. But this moment of tranquility is soon shattered as a fiery-haired figure named Ella enters the scene with a foreboding expression. Ella's eyes lock onto Lena, her gaze laced with a sense of underlying darkness. She scorns Lena's engagement in idle chatter rather than training. Without further ado, Ella seizes the opportunity to impart a lesson, commanding Lena to complete 20 laps as a form of reprimand. The gravity of the situation dawns on Ella as she contemplates the impending war. With a determined resolve, she begins to stretch her limbs, preparing herself for the battles that might lie ahead. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to scenes of chaos and destruction. Towers crumble, and the soldiers under Jared's command find themselves in a full retreat. A loyal soldier of Majorca rushes to inform their lord of the dire situation. The news arrives that the towers have been razed, and the tankers are making a hasty escape. The soldier seeks guidance on whether to pursue the fleeing enemies. Lord Gorgas, the leader of Majorca, dismisses the idea with a sense of arrogance, mocking his opponents for their perceived foolishness. He marvels at Jared's lack of foresight, wondering if the invasion of Krivia will be as effortless as it appears. With a resounding battle cry, Gorgas commands his soldiers to press forward, determined to claim Krivia as his own. The narrative takes us to the heart of the turmoil, where the citizens of Krivia flee for their lives. Their peaceful existence has been abruptly shattered, leaving them bewildered and fearful. Jared, our steadfast protagonist, awaits the arrival of Gorgas and his soldiers. He contemplates the dire circumstances and the crucial importance of breaking the enemy's last line of defense. Jared implores his comrade Rakis to give his utmost effort, underscoring the pivotal role they play in safeguarding their land. Amidst the turmoil, Hayes, a cherished friend of Jared, watches from the sidelines. A deep affection between them is evident, rooted in a history that spans back to their childhood. Hayes yearns to join the fray, to stand side by side with Jared in this monumental battle. Her emotions pour forth as she questions why Jared won't allow her to fight by his side. With heartfelt sincerity, Jared explains the dangers of war, the perils that lie in every decision made. He acknowledges Hayes' exceptional abilities and conveys his admiration, yet he is steadfast in his resolve to protect her from harm. A poignant flashback transports us to moments shared between young Jared and Hayes. These tender memories illuminate their unbreakable bond, a connection that has stood the test of time. Jared's words resonate deeply as he shares the importance of shielding those he cherishes and his unwavering determination to do so. In a bittersweet exchange, Hayes relents, her tearful acceptance echoing through their conversation. Yet, amidst this emotional interlude, the shadow of Isabella's frustration looms in the background. Isabella's heart is entwined with a sense of uncertainty, as she fears another woman stealing her man. Hayes, explaining that as a healer, it might be better for her to mend wounded souls than to join the battlefield. Beside them, a sturdy warrior named Rakis assured Jared that he would stand strong, ready for any trials that lay ahead. "Leave it to me," he said, his eyes gleaming with determination. Jared prepared himself for his first real battle, heart pounding, telling himself that all the preparations were finally in place. The scene shifted to a gathering of soldiers, each discussing the upcoming challenge. Some talked about their geographical advantage, but one soldier humorously noted that their force consisted of only 300 soldiers. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the army of Krivia, led by Rakis, raised their flags high, a visible sign of their unity and resolve. Among them were 100 brave peasants, untrained in the art of war. Rakis spoke with gratitude, acknowledging the people's response to the news of inadequate troops. He shared heartfelt apologies for the burdens placed on them by the military. Rakis took the stage again, delivering an impassioned speech. He expressed his deep shame for the weight that Krivia's military had placed on its people. He recounted how Lord Jared had done everything he could to maintain peace, from sending tributes to bowing to the Lord of Majorca. Yet Majorca's lust for Krivia's riches persisted, bringing them to the brink of conflict. Rakis assured non-combatants that they were free to leave if they wished. Despite the challenges, Rakis declared that their presence alone had already bolstered the military's hopes. Memories flashed through Rakis's mind of a time when Krivia faced turmoil after Jared's father had passed away. Many had abandoned the land, but Rakis had chosen to stay, standing firm even in the face of demotion. Now, he reflected, his unwavering resolve would serve him well. The peasants, filled with determination, cried out that they would protect the land Lord Jared had worked so hard to nurture. They pledged their allegiance and stood by their leader. Racists marveled at their spirit, amazed by the transformation of these once barren lands. Suddenly, a new energy surged within him. Instead of fleeing, the peasants chose to fight, preferring to face the enemy head-on rather than run away. Rakis thought to himself, "This heat is more unbearable than the harshest winter. I won't stand down." As the enemy's approach became imminent, the soldiers distributed swords and shields. An alert spread through the ranks. The enemy was coming. But a twist of fate presented a new challenge. The approaching force wasn't from Majorca. It was led by a figure named Lord Vartman of Brunella. Two might Lord hold a meeting regarding Jared and his nation. These lords were in charge of different territories, and they were always trying to outsmart each other. One day, they remembered a time when they received tribute from a guy named Jared. Anyway, Jared had given them a lot of valuable things, and they were talking about how much they got. It seemed like a lot of stuff. Jared was smart, you see, and he had made his land, Krivia, really strong and stable financially. He was kind of like a master at handling money. But there was more to this story than just gifts and money. There was a feeling that something tricky was going on. One of the lords, Horgus, got really serious and slammed his hands together to get everyone's attention. He wanted Vartman to listen carefully to what he was about to say. Horgus started thinking out loud, wondering why Jared, who Horgus called a bastard, would act all friendly and give them gifts. He suspected that Jared might be secretly making fun of them and trying to take their lands away. Horgus wasn't completely wrong because Jared was thinking about how to be sneaky with his plans. Horgus believed that Jared was just pretending to be nice and peaceful. You see, Horgus knew a secret about Jared, that he had lived before and had come back to life. That's called being reincarnated. Horgus thought Jared was using his past life's knowledge to trick them. Horgus felt pretty sure that Jared didn't have a strong army, maybe even weaker than a baby dragon. Horgus thought Jared was trying to use his money to buy peace, like trying to make friends by giving people things. But Horgus didn't quite trust Jared's kindness. Horgus said something interesting. Krivia only had 300 troops, which is like having only a handful of friends to play with. Vartman knew that was a small number for an army. Then Horgus made a big announcement. He said that they were going to become allies with Renella's land and team up against Jared and Krivia. They wanted to get ready for a big fight. So they shook hands and started planning. They even gathered more than 3,000 troops, which is like having a huge crowd of people together. But guess what? Even though they were acting all buddy-buddy, Horgus and Renella were secretly planning to fight each other after they defeated Jared. Tricky, huh? Now let's come back to the present. Vartman is thinking about how surprised Jared must be to see Horgus's soldiers marching through the forest. Vartman said that Jared is really not so smart because he didn't realize there was a secret path in his own territory. Vartman is making fun of Jared, saying he's bad at his job and doesn't know his land well. Later, surprise. The person who takes off the helmet isn't really Jared. It's a spy who was working with Jared's army. The spy is all confused and scared, wondering what's happening. He realizes that Jared knew about the plan all along, and this was a trap. Oh no. The spy tries to run away, but a soldier catches him and ends his run. The soldiers are talking, and they're surprised that there was really a spy. Jared was one step ahead. Flashback time again. We see a time when Jared talked to Rakis. Jared was a smart cookie because he asked Rakis about how to defeat the two lords if they joined forces. Rakis said that the main road would be a way for them to attack. But Jared was even smarter. He knew about that idea and found a hidden path that the lords didn't know about. Jared decided to be super sneaky. He planted magical mines along the path. These mines were like little bombs that could explode really big. Jared was a genius, inventing these powerful mines himself. Rakis watched in amazement as the mana flowed and reached its target. A sudden explosion rocked the area, scattering shrapnel and debris. He could hardly believe his eyes. It was like something out of a fantastic tale. Wow, that's an extraordinary weapon, Rakis marveled. Jared's face showed a mix of determination and pride. This method will help us defend our land. The enemies won't fight on our territory anymore. Instead, our forest will become a memorial for those who dare attack us, he declared, sounding more and more like a true leader. Back on the road, Horgus and his soldiers marched toward the battlefield. Across the way, there stood Jared, a resolute figure waiting for them. He spoke with a chilling confidence. "This journey you're on? It's a one-way ticket to hell." Horgus ordered his soldiers to charge, his voice carrying the weight of impending violence. "Wipe them out! Cut down anyone who resists!" he commanded. "And those who surrender, chain them up!" Horgus believed he was about to unleash a massacre. He thought his era of wealth and honor was dawning. But then, a mysterious voice whispered agreement. "Yes, this is the start of a massacre," it hissed. Jared's voice echoed again, calm yet chilling. "No need for weapons. Let my traps test your shields, Lord Horgus." And in that moment, the forest revealed its secrets. Hidden traps, countless in number, were scattered throughout, waiting to be triggered. Akron, a skilled mage, sensed something amiss. He felt the mana pulsing underground, causing the earth to tremble. Urgently, he called out, "Raise your shields now!" But before they could react, an earth-shaking explosion erupted, showering the men in fire and debris. Akron strained to hold his shield as chaos unfolded. The forest was ablaze with destruction. Lord Vartman, another leader, stared in shock as the explosion rocked the byway. He wondered if the tide had turned against them. Pushing his doubts aside, Vartman rallied his troops, his voice determined. "Wipe them out!" The soldiers charged, clashing with Jared's forces. Against all odds, Jared's small group held their ground, showing remarkable strength and unity. Back in the aftermath, Horgus and Akron assessed the devastation. Akron reported the grim news. Most of their soldiers were wiped out, save for a small group trailing behind. Horgus sighed, realizing that even the 2 mages he had trained had perished. Facing the brutal truth, Horgus grudgingly acknowledged Jared's terrifying power. He had lost his men in the blink of an eye. He had underestimated the forest-dwelling ruler's prowess. Now, Horgus knew his only hope lay in relying on Akron. In the heat of the battle, our hero Jared sprang into action, surprising everyone around. He swiftly tackled Akron, his nemesis, with unexpected force. Horgus, wide-eyed and astonished, watched as Jared grabbed Akron's neck and soared into the air, taking the villain by surprise. Akron, finally realizing Jared's deceit, felt his heart sink. As they ascended higher into the sky, Jared's thoughts raced. What was he planning? With Akron in tow, Jared's determination burned bright. At a certain height, he decided it was time. With a powerful twist, Jared released Akron, sending him hurtling toward the earth. Jared was right behind him, his mind focused on the upcoming spell. "Ready or not," Jared declared as they fell, his voice ringing with authority. He prepared to cast a spell mid-air, the wind rushing past him. Akron, desperately searching for an escape, faced an ultimatum from Jared. "Fly and save yourself, or use a shield to block my ice storm attack. Your choice." Akron's mind raced. He marveled at the audacity of Jared's plan, realizing that Jared was unlike any other mage he had encountered. Mages usually tested each other's skills and tactics, but Jared was a wild card, breaking all the rules. Akron found himself in a fierce mid-air struggle with Jared, grinning despite the danger. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out Anasuchidziwo, who commented, "Necromancy skill is overpowered in lot of Manhwa," on our max-level newbie video. Thanks for commenting. With a burst of strength, Akron shattered Jared's shield and knocked off his helmet. "You can't outwit me," Akron taunted, his confidence evident. He explained his understanding of Jared's intentions, predicting the teleportation magic. Akron's grin turned into determination as he aimed a fire spell at Jared before vanishing into a magic portal. Jared's heart raced as he dodged the fire, his mind racing to counter Akron's move, but Akron had underestimated Jared's ingenuity. As Akron reappeared on the other side of the portal, he found himself impaled on spears, trapped in a tree. Panic filled Akron's eyes as he realized his mistake. "Did you really think you had me?" Jared's triumphant voice echoed. He appeared beside Akron, his plan now fully revealed. Akron's realization hit him hard. He had danced to Jared's tune all along. Akron was trapped, defeated by his own arrogance. Jared's words cut through the air. "Your evil deeds catch up to you now," he declared, surrounded by a fiery aura. Hellfire engulfed Akron, marking the end of his reign of terror. As Akron met his demise, a system notification heralded Jared's victory and reward. Jared's mind raced, his emotions a mix of relief and satisfaction. "Quest complete, neck-and-neck combat complete," he mused. His wisdom had grown, a testament to his skills and determination. Akron's threats had been extinguished, and justice had prevailed. The battlefield below was a scene of chaos, with soldiers fighting relentlessly. Hayes, a healer with a heart of gold, tended to the wounded in a medical tent. Battlemen shouted orders, and chaos loomed. As the battle raged on, the center of the formation crumbled, signaling trouble for the soldiers. Rakus, a warrior of great resolve, recognized the dire situation. "Hold formation!" he cried out, but the chaos could not be contained. The enemy soldiers breached the interior lines, their eyes fixed on Hayes and the wounded. In the midst of battle, Hayes and the other medics stand frozen as they witness the attackers closing in, ready to strike them down. The soldiers around them are caught in a state of shock, unable to comprehend the sudden turn of events. A man's voice rises above the chaos, expressing disbelief that the mighty soldiers of Krivian could be pushed back so effortlessly. Another voice chimes in, suggesting that since they left the army, its power has waned without their presence. A figure wearing a wolf-like helmet speaks up, suggesting that their return to action was spurred by a higher calling, perhaps the Lord's request. Questions arise from the ranks as to why they're arriving only now, and the answer comes from a man among them, explaining that they had previously dealt a significant blow to Majorca, but now they are ready to stand united, with a force of 100 elite guards and 900 soldiers led by Jared, determined to fight together in this new war. Let's travel back in time to a different era, when a younger, plumper Jared converses with a man named Barrett. This Barrett, who had once served Jared's father loyally, here's the young Jared's decision to retire his father's soldiers, deeming them no longer necessary after his father's passing. Unbeknownst to them, these actions would lead to a decline in the fortunes of the soldiers and workers who had relied on their service. As the years pass, Barrett witnesses how Jared, now a lord, transforms the land. Under Jared's rule, the country blossoms with improved systems, facilities, food, and roads. The people thrive, and Barrett becomes moved by their happiness. Recognizing Jared's positive impact, Barrett reaches out to his former comrades, who had quietly retreated into the woods. These elite soldiers, who had once vowed to fade away, rally behind Jared once again, acknowledging his commitment to the land and its people. Now, fast forward to the present battlefield, where Lord Vartman commands his soldiers to retreat upon realizing that Jared's forces are greater than anticipated. Horgus, with the remaining Majorca soldiers, flees from the advancing Jared. Amidst the chaos, Jared confronts Horgus, questioning his well-being. Horgus tries to belittle Jared, suggesting that he relies on magic and trickery, urging his men to fight honorably. Undeterred, Jared responds that he will descend after dealing with Horgus. Jared's magical prowess is unleashed, fire and lightning dancing at his fingertips. Horgus's soldiers cry out in an attempt to protect their leader, but Jared's lightning magic forces them to retreat. Amidst the clash of powers, Horgus realizes that all along, Jared had orchestrated this turn of events. With a final resounding strike, Jared's magic overwhelms Horgus, who is left astonished by the extent of Jared's power. Jared's heart raced as he surveyed the chaos that unfolded before him, a result of Horgus's meddling. His people had suffered enough, and he was determined to put an end to it. Drawing on his magical powers, he unleashed a burst of energy that struck Horgus, who was now reeling from the unexpected attack. With a skeptical look, Horgus questioned whether Jared truly believed he could make a difference. But one thing was clear. Jared had proven himself to be more skilled than Horgus in this moment. Undeterred, Horgus lunged at Jared, attempting to retaliate, only to find himself thwarted as Jared skillfully pierced his leg. The man warned that the Empire would send their mighty knights to avenge his demise. But Jared was unflinching. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small book, his secret repository of knowledge and memories from his past self. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.